Okay, welcome back. Lesson 42, where we're going to continue on retopologizing, and we are starting with this lesson with the chest. So, just like before, we're bringing in a plane. We're going to start up from the top. We're going to leave the origin point to the center. Or if you accidentally move it with the origin point, no problem. Just Control A and reset all transforms. And then just go over to your modifier and hit the mirror. Just make sure you move it in edit mode so that the origin point isn't being moved. So for the chest piece here, we are just going to do exactly that, and then use the mirror modifier. We'll put the clipping on, go press number 1 for the vertex mode, and then just make sure our snapping tool is turned on to face snap select, and then we're just going to click on number 1 for the vertex select, click on the vertex, and then just make sure that's up against the sculpted model, and then make sure clipping is on like so. So what I'm going to do is we're going to be putting this around on the chest now and going over. It's personal preference if you'd like for the chest to be shown as smooth or shaded flat on the other object. I think I've got it as shaded auto smooth at the moment. I do think it's good to have it actually shaded flat. So I'm going to speed this up. I've also changed the color on the object properties there, just to like a gold color, so I can see what I am overlapping over the top. That I'm adding the topology over the top there. So as previously before, as what we have done, I don't want to be too explaining myself over and over and over again each video, because there's a few videos like this, just retopologizing. Try and make sure you get the right shape in your mind if you wanted to make sure you get all your quads as well. We want to make sure it's a nice quad flow. I might edit this later on if I need to, but here we go, and I hope this does help. As I'm grabbing each vertex, as you saw, I put one in the middle, and then for each corner I'm pressing F and then dragging that down. If it's not working for you, just make sure your F2 add-on is turned on. It's built into Blender, so it's nothing you need to download. I believe it's just called F2, and that allows you to bridge the gap between two edges, creating a quad. After selecting the vertex, you just press F and then it creates the quad. I think I've forgotten to mention before, actually, I noticed not too long ago in the latest version in Blender in 3.6 that came out not long ago, it has an actual topology in the viewport display menu, I believe, up top. I was hearing about this, but that is definitely worth to have a look. I will definitely be bringing that to your attention, hopefully, once I have discovered where that is, because apparently it's supposed to help you when you are retopologizing manually. Get my words out today, maybe it could help. But yes, it will. Apparently it can help you. Something new that the Blender community had asked for, I believe, and that would be a very, very handy little tool to use instead of going over using the X-ray and other methods. Changing new methods each week, each month, each year. There's always making your workflow much quicker is definitely something to be looking into. New updates, you gotta love them. Definitely increases your workflow and your productivity, so which is pretty good. So when I was creating the chest here, as you have seen, I had got hold of the vertex and I just extruded each vertex along the bottom. I was just experimenting. I don't want to add too much geometry to the curvatures, to the curves. So I was sort of just playing around really and just seeing what would be best and if my F key was working correctly. So I'm just playing with the verts and extruding them all the way along. I was putting them onto the breastbone. I need to make sure they're flat up against the chest. it is good to keep the topology as big as possible and try and keep them very similar sizes throughout the whole model. You will see later on when you subdivision surface it, it could look a little different. Of course, if you've done this on a face, or you've done this on areas where you need to see the mouth move, so you need higher topology around the mouth, nose, eyes, ears, depending on what's moving when rigging. That is personal preference as well. If you're going for something low poly, medium, or high topology on whatever it is you're creating. But for the purpose of this video, I have tried to make it as low poly as possible when retopologizing, and as you can see, I went back and tried to do it again. So I had a few experiments, trial and error, mostly error and error. However, just going over the tops and making the specific bits go to exactly where I want them to go. Normally I would make sure, say for example the pointy bits, I would normally make sure the points, there is a edge connected to verts for a point. But in this case I'm again experimenting, making sure the quad just has one vert at the point. And the reason I did this is I wanted to see what the outcome would be. There's a lot of artists that also manual topology, and they've also mentioned it's always good to leave two vertices on a point with a small edge between them to bridge it, because it can help the geometry as well when going around the 3D object. But here we are. I'm experimenting and showing you what it could look like doing a different way. That is what these videos are about. As you can see, I made the point there with two vertices, and then with the edge we're going to turn that into a point. You see at the beginning there we had an end gone. We would have connected then 5 dots, which we do not want to do that. So we'll just make sure we are moving that along nicely, making sure everything's a quad. If you start on the left and then you start on the right and you meet up in the middle, sometimes you get the odd n-gon or triangle. If you know your model, you're going to format it in an FBX, OBJ, or going into Unity for whatever reason, chances are it's going to end up triangulating the model anyway. So yeah, triangles aren't really a big problem, but for the purposes of materials or UV unwrapping, it's very good to keep the topology nice and square, because it will make life easier later on. Also, it's very good to I always think it looks better as well, especially for like if you're rendering images or videos. It definitely looks better, and there's not much like fragment tearing or tearing in the geometry. Sometimes there is on the corners and the sharp edge points. That's when you may want to add in triangles that will stop some tearing in the geometry. And also that also depends on how high your topology is as well. So as you can see, as we are going around the entire model, we've now done the top bit. Now we're going to go around and do the inner side bit. So we're just going to do that really quickly. Click in the corner of the vertex and just press F, going all the way around, snapping that to the bottom. And because it's mirroring on the is it x-axis? Yeah, sorry. As we can see there, it's on the x-axis, so it's mirroring this on the left-hand side, which again, it's very helpful in the workflow. Helps speed things up, make it nice and clean, neat, and symmetrical, of course. You don't want a unsymmetrical chest plate unless you're going for something that's not supposed to be symmetrical. That's another way of putting it, I suppose. Sometimes I always put the verts in the wrong places. It's not a problem. We can just grab it by pressing G and adjust and place it in the right And once you got the flow going, it's just click F, click F, click F place, and then you do that all the way around like so. So after we have done all this all the way around, what we are going to do is we will be creasing the edges and making it nice and sharp, and also adding a subdivision surface modifier, adding more topology to the model and making things more curvature and round to make it look really nice. So here we've added the subdivision surface modifier, we have added all our creases into the topology model. You can turn the monitor on and off if you wanted to display or need to edit any of the vertices or edges. And what I would highly recommend is not to probably enable or apply the subdivision service until the very end, until you are 100% sure that is the correct model that you wish before formatting and exporting to another program. So as you can see through this, I was just adjusting certain points, adding in a few creases that I had missed, and just touching it up, making it nice and smoother. So that's everything for this lesson, and I will catch you in the next lesson.